Welcome to Cinema Bites, your go-to for movie recaps in a flash. Big twists, epic moments, all in just minutes. The story starts in Korea, with Young, a mountain climber in the valley who acts like a ninja, but he's not actually a ninja. However, he is flexible and has nerves of steel. At that moment, Young was training in the street, and everyone was watching him, amazed by his skills. During this time, a group of kids starts talking about Young, mentioning that his girlfriend had died previously while they were climbing mountains. Since then, Young has been psychologically distressed, and every time he sees a pole or stick in the street, he starts practicing with it. Among that group of kids was someone who happened to be Young's nephew. Young calls out to him, but the boy is embarrassed and doesn't want to talk to him, walking away and ignoring him. Young continues his training until he gets a call on his phone, informing him that he didn't get the job he applied for. This makes Young sad, and his depression worsens. He starts hating climbing, abandons his poles, and leaves. Young then returns home and goes to the kitchen to wash the dishes. Despite being as diligent as a housewife, he is dissatisfied with his life and cannot stand himself or his family. Later, while lying on his bed playing online, his sister comes in to tell him to dress nicely for their mom's 70th birthday celebration. He doesn't want to go, but his sister yells at him, insisting that he must come for their mom. She then notices that his room is filled with ropes everywhere, on the bed, walls, and closet. She gets into an argument with him, accusing him of being obsessed with ropes and climbing, and urges him to do something useful. Young reluctantly puts the ropes back in their place. The story then flashes back to when Young was training at a climbing academy. At that time, there was a beautiful girl training alongside him, climbing walls. Young, determined to beat her, loses focus, causing her to fall. However, she still manages to win, reaching the top of the wall and celebrating her victory. Returning to the present, Young gets ready for his mom's birthday party. However, when his mom sees him, she criticizes his appearance and styles his hair in a way he dislikes. She then takes a photo of him and tells him she'll share it in the family group to match him with his cousin. The family gets dressed and heads to the birthday venue. Everyone is busy with the party, gifts, and rushing to the buffet to fill their plates. As usual, people attend parties mainly for the food. At the party, Young notices Yuju, the girl who trained with him years ago. She is now the assistant manager, cutting the cake and overseeing the event. When she sees Young, she freezes, and everyone notices that they know each other. However, she quickly refocuses on her work after the manager reminds her. The celebration continues. After the cake cutting, people step outside, and Young talks to Yuju, reminiscing about their time training together 5 years ago. Yuju asks him what he does for a living now. Young, who is still unemployed, lies and says he is now a manager at an investment company. Yuju is impressed, believing he is successful. They recall the time when Young confessed his love to her 5 years ago, but Yuju rejected him, saying she only saw him as a brother. She apologizes for how she treated him back then, but Young brushes it off, pretending it didn't affect him much, even though he had cried in the streets from heartbreak. They return to the party, where Young's sister introduces Yuju to the rest of the family. The family, being nosy, bombards him with questions about his job and whether he is married. Young regrets coming to the party. His sister drags him to dance with the family, but he only claps along reluctantly, with a forced smile on his face. Meanwhile, the workers ask Yuju when the party will end because they are bored and want to leave. Yuju admits she's also tired, but doesn't know when it will finish. The manager overhears and tells the workers they can leave, promising that he and Yuju will clean up after the event. The workers are happy with their kind manager, who treats them well, gives them bonuses. After the workers leave, the manager tries to harass Yuju, but she understands his intentions and avoids him. At the same time, a truck carrying toxic chemicals stops in a restricted area. The driver releases a gas, which begins spreading across the city. People who inhale the gas die instantly. Chaos erupts as people flee, trying to save themselves. Back at the party, Young's family is busy collecting leftover food and gifts, even packing leftover food into bags to take home. Young feels embarrassed by his family's behavior, seeing them as greedy and shameless. Meanwhile, people in the streets notice the toxic gas spreading and try to escape. Young steps outside, confused by the commotion, and sees people running, cars crashing, and the gas approaching. Yujo decides to bring people back into the halls and lock them inside because it's the safest place for them, as the streets are filled with toxic gas. At that moment, Young sees his sister getting out of the car and heading toward him. However, she collapses to the ground, inhales the toxic gas, starts getting poisoned, and struggles to breathe. Young quickly carries her to the hall, and they begin treating her until the ambulance arrives. Meanwhile, Young and Yujo observe the toxic gas spreading rapidly in the city below, intensifying and eventually reaching their location. At that moment, warning messages are sent to people's phones, informing them about the toxic gas spreading in the city, killing anyone who inhales it. The messages advise people to move to higher ground as quickly as possible. Everyone rushes to the rooftop, but they find the door locked, and the key is on the first floor. Someone must sacrifice themselves to retrieve the key, but no one is willing to volunteer. They go downstairs to look for something to open the door with, and they see news on TV about the toxic gas. A health official explains that the gas causes severe health problems, including blindness, difficulty breathing, and skin burns. Inhaling a sufficient amount of the gas leads to instant death. The official advises citizens to use gas masks immediately and cover their skin with thick plastic to avoid burns. Additionally, they must replace the mask filters every 10 minutes to survive. Yujo searches the hall for gas masks, but finds none. Young joins her in the search, but it's futile. Later, the media reports that military planes will arrive to evacuate citizens from the city as quickly as possible. However, each plane can only carry 20 people, and there are only 10 planes available. Young starts thinking of a way to reach the rooftop and asks Yujo if there's an external route to climb to the top of the building. Yujo informs him that there is a way to the other side. Young breaks the glass near them and asks Yujo for equipment and ropes to climb to the rooftop. Yujo provides him with the necessary tools, and he prepares to jump outside and climb to the roof. His father and uncle try to stop him, warning him of the danger, but he doesn't listen. He runs toward the edge, jumps, and reaches the wall, but his grip slips. Encouraged by his family, including his nephew who previously disliked him, Young gathers his strength and successfully climbs the wall. Yujo throws him the remaining equipment he needs to continue climbing. He attempts to jump to the other side of the building to climb the roof. The distance is very narrow, and Young runs with all his might, successfully making the jump. However, his hand slips and he almost falls. He manages to hold on and begins climbing the building toward the rooftop. At one point, the rope he's using for safety nearly gives way, so he decides to detach the rope and climb without any support. Yujo becomes very worried, because she knows he used to fall often when they climbed together in the past. Despite the danger, Young successfully climbs to the top of the roof without the rope. Once on the roof, he unlocks the door, allowing everyone to reach the rooftop. They wait for a rescue plane, and one does fly by, but it doesn't notice them. They shout and call out loudly, but to no avail. Yujo suggests they use their phone flashlights to signal the plane, hoping it will see them. They all do so and shout loudly. Meanwhile, authorities discover the source of the toxic gas, a former scientist turned terrorist who spread the gas to take revenge after being fired from his company. His revenge wasn't just about being fired, he also lost a lawsuit against the company, along with his patents and research. He owned nothing afterward. The scientist developed the fast-spreading chemical gas, first testing it on rats. Once successful, he released it in the city near the company that fired him to kill all the executives. However, he didn't account for poisoning the public and himself, as he was found dead next to the car spreading the gas near the company. On the rooftop, Young's family does everything to get the rescue plane's attention, even singing and dancing loudly. However, the planes continue to pass by without stopping. Meanwhile, the toxic gas starts rising toward the rooftop, threatening everyone's lives. Yujo comes up with an idea to turn the building's lights on and off to signal the rescue planes. The plan works, and the rescue team notices them and descends. However, there's only room for one more person on the rescue line, with Young and Yujo left behind. They both refuse to leave each other behind, expressing their love. Young says he's currently unemployed but dreams of working in the skyscraper visible in the distance. They decide to stay together and not board the rescue plane, despite their family's pleas. They put on gas masks and protective gear, carrying extra filters, and descend into the gas-filled streets below. They change it every now and then. They start their journey, which is very difficult, and every now and then they climb to a high surface away from the toxic gas to change the filters of their masks safely without getting poisoned. After that, Young leaves Yujo in a high place on the surface and goes down to get other supplies to help them in their journey to escape from the toxic gas. At that time, while Yujo was on the surface, the gas got closer to her, and she needed to climb to a higher place. Here, she starts climbing the fence next to her to reach a higher spot. At that moment, Young was very late. She thought that Young had abandoned her and escaped to save himself from the toxic gas. While she was feeling depressed and sad, she sees Young coming back to her with a lot of supplies. He changes her mask filters, changes his own, and then takes her to eat and drink something so they don't get exhausted. They go to a closed gym to drink comfortably. After that, they need to cross from one building to another at a very high altitude. They throw weights on the end of a rope to the other side of the building to secure it. Once it's ready, Yujo crosses first, and Young keeps encouraging and cheering for her to motivate her, reminding her of her past, which was full of action and ghost hunting work. Yujo continues her way on the rope and reaches the other side safely and quickly. However, they are shocked to see the chimney of a nearby restaurant releasing the gas. Young then returns to his building, and Yojo thinks he will abandon her again, but he comes back with his mask and goes to her building. At that time, officials manage to find a way to stop the gas leak from the vehicle and discover another method to halt the toxic gas in the air using water. However, this will take a lot of time because the toxic gas has spread over a vast area of the city, making it very challenging to eliminate it quickly. The issue drags on as a large group of journalists flies their drones into the toxic gas to search for any survivors in need of rescue. We return to Young and Yojo, who successfully crossed to the other side safely and managed to climb to the roof of a high building away from the toxic gas. There, they see a group of children trapped in a room in the adjacent building, asking for help to get to the roof. Young's father goes to the photographers with drones, asking them to film the location of his son to ensure he's safe and send someone to rescue him. Initially, the photographers refuse, but of course, money changes minds. Young's father offers them a lot of money, and they agree, starting to cover the area where Young is located after he informs them about it. Meanwhile, the children try to climb to the roof using the building's external pipes, but it's dangerous, and they fail. Young then notices a helicopter coming to rescue him and Yojo, but they signal the helicopter towards the children in the adjacent building. However, the helicopter doesn't understand. Yojo and Young then use mannequins nearby to create a large sign on the ground, pointing to the other building. The helicopter understands, spots the children, and lowers a rescue cage with a rescue team to save all the children. Afterward, the gas begins to rise towards Young and Yojo. They place a ladder between their building and another to climb to a higher building and escape the gas. Journalists manage to capture their rescue efforts and broadcast the footage on TV, which everyone watches, learning about the two trapped in the toxic gas. Young's family, who are in the hospital, see him on TV and are relieved to know he's alive with Yojo. The video spreads across media and YouTube channels, with YouTubers making videos tracking their movements moment by moment. This prompts the public to demand the government provide a helicopter to rescue them. Young and Yojo continue their journey, running everywhere to avoid the toxic gas, climbing higher buildings to reach the highest point away from the gas. However, at one point, the drone's battery dies, cutting off the live broadcast of Young and Yojo. They reach the highest point without masks, and the gas starts reaching them. They feel hopeless, thinking their end is near. Young confesses to Yojo, saying, "I'm the reason for all this. I'm the reason because I chose a hall far from our home to hold the birthday party. But I did it because I knew you worked here and wanted to see you because I love you." Yojo then notices a large number of drones coming to film and report on them, sent by citizens who learned about their story. The drones begin to help them. Young asks for a rope to secure it to another spot. They manage to climb the rope to a higher place, reaching the other side. However, while climbing, the rope breaks, and they fall into the gas, causing everyone to worry about them. But later, it's revealed that they managed to reach a crane at the last moment, climbing to its highest point. A helicopter is sent to rescue them, and they return to their families, embracing in a romantic scene. Afterward, Yojo punches her boss, who sacrificed her and took the helicopter, leaving her behind. Later, Young approaches Yojo, and she confesses her love for him, saying she will always be his. The movie ends here. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, and if you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe and activate the notification bell to receive our videos first. See you next